We've all learned about D-Day from history books, but to learn about D-Day from the men who survived that day is really something special. So special that filmmaker Larry Capetto has been collecting first-person accounts of that day. And these interviews can be seen in his new film, a documentary called Lest They Be Forgotten. And Larry Capetto joins us now from Grand Junction, Colorado. Larry, of all the things you can make a documentary about, what was it about D-Day that made you want to make your film?
Well, you know, looking back in history, the significance of D-Day, I mean, June 6, 1944, a very pivotal time in our Earth's history. And that particular landing on Omaha Beach was very strategic in the success of that operation. And for the past 16 months, I've been on an incredible journey documenting stories from the men that were actually on Omaha Beach. I'm sure we're all familiar with the movie Saving Private Ryan and the depiction of the beach landing at the beginning of that movie. And I've actually talked to over 70 men that were on that beach on D-Day.
And how did you find these men?
Well, it all started in Mesa, Arizona. I got a hold of an editor of a newspaper who referred me to a columnist who wrote a story saying filmmaker looking for D-Day vets, and that really opened up a whole door of opportunity for me. I had over 100 phone calls from the Mesa, Phoenix area alone, and I've just had incredible support since then, and veterans calling me almost every day, literally wanting their stories to be told.
All right, well, let's take a look at some of those stories just so people understand what we're talking about. Here's a clip.
Seeing coxswains coming back crying.
The beach was pretty loaded with dead guys, and the water was just red from blood.
The beaches were red. I mean, you couldn't help but see that as you walked down along the beach. It was red with blood, and the fallen guys were there, and they were moaning and what have you. So you couldn't help but walk over them as we were doing our work. And so it's a fate that you don't want to even talk about.
So many of those men were so choked up and so emotional. Was it difficult to get people to tell their stories, or did people want to talk?
You know, Allison, many of these men have never told their stories. In fact, after the interviews, a lot of them would turn to me and say, Larry, you know more about me and what happened on Omaha Beach than my wife does. I think I've been very successful in providing a very non-threatening atmosphere. I go into the homes of these veterans and I talk to them, and they open up to me. And since that, there's really been a bond that's formed between us. But some of these men, still after 60 years, have recurring nightmares of something that happened that was so traumatic and so dramatic in their lives 60 years ago.
Now, after hearing all these stories, Larry, what do you think has been underreported about D-Day? Something that just really doesn't get the headlines?
Well, I think just the camaraderie between the soldiers that day, and you know what really happened. When we go to a movie, we see the whole picture. When you're on the beach, when you're a soldier landing on a beach, you see what's in front of you. And I think just the details of what happened and the brutality of the battle. In fact, in that clip, we just saw the Navy man saying that the coxswains were seen coming back crying, and to really just see and feel that emotion. You know, I've been intrigued with time. Going into these men's homes, it's like going back and looking through a time portal. These men are my eyes and my ears to an event that happened 60 years ago, and it's just an incredible story that they tell.
Larry, do you have plans to go to France this weekend?
I'll be in France for the 60th anniversary of D-Day. I just returned from Washington, D.C. for the World War II memorial dedication. That was a very memorable time for me, and going back to France for the 60th anniversary is going to be very significant, and I'll be proud to honor and honored to really represent the men that are in this film.
All right, and one last quick question. What did you learn from this? When you get involved in a project like this, you must take away some lesson.
You know, this project has changed my life. When I look back at these men and their lives, I see the integrity and the character that they possessed, the fact that they went to war when they had to go to war without any hesitation, and that really speaks volumes to me as a filmmaker and as an American. Larry
Capetto, the name of the film is Lest They Be Forgotten. Thank you so much for taking the time, and safe journey to you.
Thank you very much, Allison.
You can tune into MSNBC all this weekend. We're going to have live coverage of the memorial events at Normandy Beach. We'll tell the stories of courage and honor that helped win World War II through first-hand accounts and military analysis.
If you don't know about Normandy, you're going to learn a lot this weekend. It was a remarkable battle. And probably like none we have ever seen in history.
No, seeing just even a snippet of that documentary makes you realize how emotional the coverage is going to be this weekend.